Iris Solano arrived at the 23rd floor at 6:40 in the morning. The bullpen lights were still on a half cycle, blue along the windows. She set a paper cup of coffee on the corner of her desk and opened the same client file she had been refining for 3 weeks. The cursor blinked. She typed. She had built the consumer segmentation model herself. 6 weeks of survey design, 2 weeks of cleaning the data, 3 weeks of running the regressions and pressure testing the thresholds. The deck was hers. The framework on slide 9 was hers. The thesis on slide 11 was hers. Her name appeared on the cover only because the template required an analyst byline. Warren's name appeared on every slide footer. Warren Kestler arrived at 9:15. He did not look at her desk on his way past. He carried his leather portfolio under his arm and a paper cup from the lobby kiosk. His office door closed with the soft hydraulic sigh of a door that closed expensively. Through the glass, he set the portfolio down and stood at the window for a long moment. He liked to say his name was the credential. He had said it in 2 onboarding sessions Iris had sat through, and again at a partner's lunch she had been asked to observe. The week before, in a Tuesday review, he had crossed out a footnote on her draft and written in the margin, "Not needed. My name is the source." She had kept the marked page. She had it in her drawer. Delfino Jada kept a copy of every email she had ever sent him. She kept them in a folder named after a city she had once visited. She did not tell Iris this. She told Iris one Tuesday over the printer that it was a good idea to send him a recap email after every meeting. Iris started doing it the next morning. Iris began a folder of her own. She named it after the street her grandmother had lived on. Inside it, she saved the recap emails, the Slack threads where decisions had been made, the call recordings the firm's compliance policy required, and that nobody ever opened. She did not yet know what she was building. She only knew that nothing he said in a room ever stayed the same when it left it. The retail account had been hers for 4 months. She had run every analyst meeting. She had drafted every thesis statement. Warren had attended 2 of the 17 working sessions, and one of those had been a phone call from his car. He pronounced the client name with a possessive lilt at the all hands. He said our Atherton work. He said it twice. She did not correct him. She had not yet decided whether she would. After the all hands, she went back to her desk and added the recording of the meeting to her folder. The audio was 11 minutes long. She labeled it by date and by phrase. She labeled the phrase he had used. She did not yet need it. At home that night, she stood at the kitchen island and told Noah a partial version. She said it had been a long week. He poured her a glass of wine and did not ask the things she had not yet said. He stirred a pot on the stove. The radio on the windowsill played a horn solo that turned a corner and did not come back. On Tuesday morning, the steering committee met in the south glass room. Iris had printed 12 copies of the segmentation deck. She set them around the table at 5 before 9. Warren walked in at 4 after Sig, picked up a copy without looking at her, and sat at the head of the table. He opened to slide 9. He said, "This is the framework I built for Atherton." Iris did not move. The room did not register it. A vice president from the client side asked a follow-up question about the threshold logic. Warren said the threshold was a judgment call. He said, "In this firm, my word is the source. The quality of the recommendation is what matters." He smiled. The vice president smiled. The pen in Iris's hand stopped moving. She finished the meeting. She refilled the pitcher. She gathered the unused copies. She did not say a single word that was not the word a junior says when a senior asks for water. In the elevator down to the lobby, she stood between 2 strangers and looked at the floor display countdown 23 stories. She did not look at her reflection in the brass. At her desk, she did not open the folder. She did not write a recap email. She walked to the printer alcove and stood there for 2 minutes without printing anything. Delphine passed behind her on the way to the kitchenette and did not stop. When Iris came back to her desk, she opened her notebook and wrote 1 line. Cite him with himself. She spent the rest of that afternoon in the audit folder. She found the call recording from the January working session. She found a Slack thread from 3 weeks earlier where Warren had typed with 2 emojis that the threshold logic was the model's strongest feature. She found a memo with his initials in the routing block where he had argued the opposite of what he had said in the glass room. She did not send anything that night. She closed the folder. She put the notebook in her bag. She rode the train home and stood by the doors and watched the river crossing through the window in long, quiet frames. Noah was setting the table when she came in. He had remembered it was the night they ate early. On Wednesday, she drafted the next deliverable in her own name. Every thesis statement was followed by a citation. The citations were not from peer-reviewed papers. They were from the firm's own systems. She used the format the compliance team had distributed at orientation. She formatted the slides with footnotes the way an academic would. She did not yet send the draft. Delphine stopped by her desk at the end of the day. She set a small bound draft of a different project beside Iris's keyboard. She said, "I added you to the witness line on the kickoff memo for the Bramer engagement." Then she said, in the same flat voice, "You should keep that folder backed up somewhere off the network." Then she walked away. That night, Iris exported the folder onto a small encrypted drive she kept in a kitchen drawer at home. Noah saw her do it from across the island. He did not ask. He poured her a glass of water and said, "Tell me if you need me to know." She nodded. She did not need him to know yet. She put the drive at the back of the drawer behind a stack of clean dish towels. On Thursday, the partners called a status review. Warren walked Iris through the retail thesis with a borrowed certainty. He said the segmentation had been refined by his hand. He said the threshold was a function of partner-level judgment. The senior partner asked for a one-page summary by Friday. He told Iris to put it together. He said it like he was doing her a favor. She wrote the one-page summary. She wrote it cleanly. She wrote each claim with a footnote. The footnote for the threshold logic cited Warren's January working session call, time-coded. The footnote for the segmentation framework cited his Slack message of 3 weeks earlier with the timestamp. The footnote for the final recommendation cited his initial memo from August. On Friday morning, she walked the printed summary into the senior partner's office at 8. He thanked her, set it on his pile, and went back to his call. She rode the elevator down to the lobby and stood at the kiosk and bought a coffee with a flat hand. She did not look at her phone. She rode back up. Warren had not yet arrived. The senior partner read the one-page summary in the back of a town car at 10 that morning. He read the footnotes. He read them again. He told his driver to take a longer route. He did not call Warren. He called his head of compliance. He asked her to pull the call recordings and the Slack archive for the January and February windows. By 11, the head of compliance had pulled the recordings. By noon, she had read the Slack thread. By 1, she had walked into the senior partner's office and closed the door behind her. Warren did not yet know any of this. He was at lunch with a client at a steakhouse where the napkins were folded into pyramids. He ordered a second glass of wine. When Warren returned to the office at 2:30, there were 2 emails in his inbox he had not expected. One asked him to come to the senior partner's office at 3. The other asked him to bring his laptop and the project folder. He did not know yet what the second email meant. He sat at his desk for 90 seconds and looked at the photograph of the sailboat on his credenza. Iris did not look up when he walked past her desk on his way to the partner suite. Delphine did not look up either. The bullpen kept the small, constant sound of a working afternoon. The printer in the alcove cycled through a job. Somebody laughed once near the kitchenette. Somebody refilled a coffee. The clock above the elevator bay read 2:58. In the senior partner's office, the head of compliance was already seated. The senior partner did not ask Warren to sit. He turned the laptop toward him and pressed play on a clip cued to a 40-second section of the January call. Warren listened to himself argue the opposite of his Tuesday position. He listened to himself say, on the record, that the threshold was the model's strongest feature. He tried, very briefly, to explain. He said the call had been a brainstorming session. He said the Slack message had been a rhetorical device. He used the word context twice. The head of compliance did not write any of it down. The senior partner did not respond to any of it. He told Warren he would be on administrative leave starting Monday pending the review. Warren did not return to his corner office. He went directly to the elevator with his portfolio. He did not stop at his desk for his coat. The clock above the elevator bay read 3:21. The bullpen did not look up. Delphine was on a call with her headset on. Iris was at the printer alcove collecting a different job. Nobody saw him leave. On Saturday, the firm sent a short email to the analyst staff. It said Warren Kestler was on leave pending a routine compliance review. It used the word routine twice. Iris read it on her phone standing in the kitchen while Noah cracked eggs into a bowl. She put her phone face down on the counter. He cracked another egg. The radio played something gentle on a horn. The Bramer engagement kicked off the next Monday with a different senior on the line. Iris led the first working session. She walked the client through the framework. She used her own voice. She said the words, "Our team and I built." The client did not ask who built what. The client asked when the next deck would be ready. She said Thursday. They moved on. Warren Kestler woke up on the 3rd day of his leave at 10 in the morning. The blinds in his bedroom were still drawn. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. There were no missed calls. There were 3 new emails, all from his alumni association. He set the phone face down. He lay there for another 20 minutes. The ceiling had a small water stain near the corner he had never noticed. His wife had taken the kids to her parents' house in another state. She had said it was a long-planned visit. He did not ask whether she was coming back at the end of the week. He did not call to ask. He made coffee at noon and drank half of it. He set the cup on the kitchen counter. He forgot to wash it. On day 4 of his leave, the firm's outside counsel sent a letter. It asked him to preserve all communications related to 17 specific client engagements. It listed them with reference numbers. He read the letter twice. He read his own name on the addressee line. He set the letter on his home office desk. He did not respond to it that day. The lawn outside his house had not been cut in 2 weeks. His neighbor came over on Saturday morning and rang the bell to ask if the service had stopped. Warren came to the door in a faded t-shirt and no shoes. He said, "I forgot to renew it." He said, "I will call them today." He did not call them that day. The neighbor noticed. The neighbor did not say so. On the same Saturday, Iris and Noah walked the long route through the farmer's market. She bought a bunch of small purple radishes and a single sourdough loaf. He bought a bouquet of white daisies wrapped in newsprint. She held the daisies on the train home with both hands. The light through the window made the newsprint translucent. She did not check her phone once on the ride. On day 6 of Warren's leave, the head of compliance scheduled a follow-up interview. He sat in his home office and answered her questions for 4 hours. She asked about specific dates. She asked about specific phrases. She read 3 of his old Slack messages back to him. She did not ask anything she did not already know the answer to. He realized this only at the end of the 3rd hour. On day 7, the firm's internal investigation invited an outside reviewer. Marcus Eularin had done 2 prior engagements for them. He arrived at the offices on Monday with a soft canvas bag and a preference for email over phone calls. He read the call transcripts at his rented desk. He read the Slack archive. He flagged 17 specific lines and built a timeline. He did not need anyone to explain anything to him. He asked to speak with Iris on Tuesday afternoon. He thanked her for the structure of her summary. He asked clarifying questions about 3 of the timestamps. He did not ask her opinion of Warren. He did not ask her how she had felt. He asked her, twice, whether she had any other recordings she had not yet handed over. She said yes. She handed him 3. On day 9, Warren's wife came back from her parents' house. She brought the kids. She did not unpack her suitcase. She set it at the foot of the bed in the guest room. She told him over coffee at the kitchen island that they would not be talking about the firm tonight. She told him, very quietly, that she would not be lying for him to anyone. She did not raise her voice. On the same morning, Iris and Noah walked to the small bakery 2 blocks from their apartment and ate almond croissants on a sidewalk bench. She told him a piece of the story. He listened without interrupting. He asked her one question at the end. She did not answer it for a long moment. Then she said yes. They walked home along the river path and watched a heron stand for a while in the shallows. On day 12, the firm convened a partners meeting in a different conference room than the one where Warren had said his word was the source. Marcus Eularin walked them through his timeline. He played the 40-second clip from January. He played a 30-second clip from February. He showed the Slack message with the 2 emojis. He turned the laptop around to face them. He did not editorialize. On day 14, the firm's general counsel sent a separation agreement to Warren's home address by courier. He signed for it at the door in his socks. He carried the envelope to the kitchen island and set it down. He did not open it for an hour. When he opened it, he read every page twice. He set the envelope back down. He stared at the magnet on the refrigerator that was a state his wife liked. He called the senior partner that afternoon. He asked for 10 minutes on the phone. The senior partner took the call. Warren said he had been a loyal partner. He said the recordings had been taken out of context. He said the firm would regret this. The senior partner listened in silence for 2 of the 10 minutes. Then he told Warren, very quietly, that the firm would not. He drank 2 glasses of bourbon that night and sat at his home office desk and did not turn on the lamp. The streetlight through the window made everything in the room a low single tone. He scrolled through old emails for 2 hours. He did not write to anyone. The browser tab open on his second screen showed his old company directory page. His photograph on it had been removed. Iris and Noah went to dinner with his sister and her partner that Friday. They ate at a small Italian place near the river that did not take reservations. She laughed once at something his sister said about a colleague. She had not laughed like that in 2 months. Noah noticed it. He did not say anything. He passed her the bread. On day 18, Warren signed the separation agreement. The courier came back for it the next morning. He carried the envelope down to the front porch and handed it over. The courier asked him for a signature. He spelled his name carefully on the line. The courier walked back to the truck. Warren stood at the front door in the cold for a moment longer than he needed to. His phone calendar still had the firm's all-hands meeting on it for that Thursday at 10. He did not delete it. The reminder pinged at 9:45. He silenced it. He did not move from the kitchen table. He looked out the window at the backyard. His son's plastic soccer goal was tipped over in the grass. He had been meaning to fix it for 3 weeks. His professional network shrank in the way they always do. The first 3 calls he made were returned in 2 days. The next 4 were not returned at all. A former colleague told him over a long lunch that the rumor mill had been ahead of the press release. The colleague paid for the lunch. He said it was the least he could do. He did not call again. On day 22, his children came home from school and did not run to him in the front hall. They set their backpacks down and went upstairs. His wife paused in the doorway and watched them. She told him later that night they had heard things at school. Other parents had said things to other kids. She told him she had decided to take a leave of absence from her own job. She did not say why. Iris was promoted to senior associate that month. The senior partner walked into the bullpen at 4 on a Wednesday and announced it briefly before sending an email to the floor. Delphine clapped twice with her hands at her chin. The bullpen made the small, warm sound of a bullpen that had decided something was correct. Iris said thank you with her hand flat on her notebook. On day 28, Warren ran into a former client at the supermarket. The client looked through him. He said the client's name. The client looked at him then. The client said, "Oh." The client wished him well in a voice that did not wish him well. They both looked at the lemons. Warren left the cart in the middle of the produce aisle and walked out without anything. He stopped going to the gym he had used for 12 years. He stopped going to the coffee shop where the barista knew his order. He stopped reading the industry newsletters that arrived every morning. He let the unsubscribe links accumulate. The kitchen sink filled and he washed dishes one at a time as he needed them. The radio his wife liked played in the kitchen with no audience. His college class ring sat on the dresser for 11 straight days. He did not notice he had stopped wearing it until his wife pointed at the small dent of skin on his finger one morning. He looked down at his hand. He looked at the dresser. He did not put the ring back on. The dent stayed for 2 more weeks before it faded. His wife asked him one morning over breakfast whether he had begun thinking about what came next. She did not phrase it cruelly. He said he had. He had not. He poured himself another cup of coffee and sat looking at the backyard. The plastic soccer goal was still tipped over. He told her he would set it up that afternoon. He did. He stood in the cold grass for 10 minutes after. On a Saturday morning, Iris and Noah went to a hardware store and bought a small bookshelf in a flat box. They carried it home together on the train and assembled it in the living room with the radio on. He read the instructions. She drove the screws. They put it against the wall opposite the kitchen island. She put 3 of her grandmother's books on the top shelf. The afternoon light warmed the wood. On day 35, Warren wrote Iris an email from a personal address. The subject line was a single word, clarification. The body was 4 paragraphs long. He acknowledged that the timing of certain statements had been confusing. He said her summary had been formally correct. He said he hoped in time they could compare notes professionally. He said he wished her well. He sent it at 11:58 at night. Iris read it the next morning at her desk. She read it twice. She did not respond to it that day. She did not respond to it that week. She did not respond to it. She added the email to her folder with the date and the timestamp. She wrote 1 word in her notebook beside the entry. The word was no. He sent a second email 2 weeks later. The subject line was again a single word, regards. The body was shorter. He said he had been thinking about her career. He said if she ever wanted to compare notes about a project he was considering, he would welcome it. He attached a 1-page summary of the project. He asked her to keep the email confidential. Iris did not open the attachment. She did not open the email past the preview pane. She forwarded the whole message to the firm's compliance address. She added a single line above the forwarded text. The line said, "Passing this on per policy." She did not write back to Warren. She did not write back to him. She closed the tab and refilled her water bottle from the kitchenette. The compliance officer wrote a letter to Warren that afternoon. The letter said the firm considered his outreach to current employees a violation of the separation agreement he had signed. The letter asked him not to contact firm employees again on any topic. The letter was sent both by courier and by certified mail. He received the courier copy at 4. He sat with the envelope unopened for 2 hours. He did not write to Iris again. He did not write to anyone at the firm again. He stopped checking his industry feed entirely. He took down the small framed photograph of the sailboat and put it in a desk drawer. He did not unpack the drawer. He sat in his home office on the weekend afternoons with the lamp off and the blinds half drawn, and read books he had bought a decade ago and never opened. On a Sunday afternoon, Iris and Noah hosted his sister and her partner for dinner. She made the ragu his grandmother had taught her. He set the table with the cloth napkins. They ate slowly. Somebody brought a bottle of red wine. Somebody told a small embarrassing story. The window above the kitchen sink showed dusk turning to early dark. Nobody checked their phone for 2 hours. Marcus Oyelaran's final report was filed on a Tuesday. It went to the senior partner, the head of compliance, and the firm's outside counsel. It did not go to Warren. The senior partner read it in the back of a town car the same way he had read the first 1-page summary. He told his driver to take a longer route again, He thanked Marcus by email. He copied no one. The findings did not become public. The firm did not publish them. A trade press item ran the following month that mentioned a senior departure and used the words restructured leadership. The item ran 2 paragraphs and a stock photograph. Warren read it on his phone in the kitchen. He set the phone face down on the granite. His wife was at the sink. She did not turn around. He took a position in another industry 6 weeks later. He told his wife it was a fresh start. He told the recruiter the same thing. He took a 50% salary cut. He did not tell anyone the salary number. He drove to the new office on his first morning and sat in the parking lot for 15 minutes before he got out of the car. He was not wearing the class ring. On the same morning, Iris received the senior partner's email confirming her transfer to a new engagement of her own. She would lead it. She would have her own bullpen team. The email was 3 lines long. She forwarded it to Noah with no comment. He wrote back with one word: proud. She set her phone down on her desk and went back to the slide she had been refining. Delphine became her senior associate on the new engagement. They printed copies of the kickoff agenda together at the alcove on Monday. Delphine slid the top copy across to Iris with 2 fingers. She said, "Your room." She said it the way a person who has seen 2 associates leave under bad terms says a sentence she had been waiting to say. Iris took the copy. She did not need to say anything back. Warren's new role kept him quiet. He did not appear at industry events. He did not write anything for the trade press. His wife went back to her own job after the leave of absence. The class ring stayed in the brass tray on the dresser. He walked their dog every evening in the cold. He spoke to the dog in a voice softer than the one he had used at the firm. On a Saturday in the spring, Iris and Noah had his sister and her partner over again. They ate ragu. They opened a bottle of red. Noah told a story about a student who had finally understood the 3rd law on the last day of the term. Iris reached across the small table and took his hand and held it for the length of a story. The radio on the windowsill turned a slow corner. After the dishes were dried and put away, she walked Noah's sister down to the front door of the building. The street outside was warm and quiet. She watched the cab pull away. She walked back up the 4 flights slowly, with one hand on the railing. The hallway lights hummed. She let herself into the apartment. The radio was still on. She set her bag on the kitchen island and took out the small black field notebook. She opened it to the page from the Tuesday in the South Glass room. The line in her own handwriting was still there. Cite him with himself. Beside it, in different ink, she wrote one new word: done. She closed the notebook. The radio finished its song. The light in the window slipped from rose to indigo. She did not turn to look.